In this video today, I'm going to be showing you guys exactly how I took this M2 RAW photo and turned it into this. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to episode 4 of the editing tutorial series, where I'll be taking photos I've either taken at meets or private events and showing you guys exactly how I edit them. If you guys are new to the channel, my name is Preston Stryker. I'm an automotive photographer and videographer, and let's get right into the video. Alright, so obviously first things first, you guys are going to want to go ahead and open up Lightroom and find the picture you guys want to edit. Today I'm going to be doing this beautiful gray M2 that I shot at Charlotte Motor Speedway Cars and Coffee. So as you can tell, the raw photo looks pretty good, but I also hate people that say the raw looks better than the edit. So basically what we're going to start out here, we're going to go into this crop section right here on the right side, and I just auto crop all my pictures. So any picture that I take, I auto crop it because there's no point of, I mean, you can fix the edges a little bit if you want to adjust it, but I'm just going to click here, auto crop it, and that gets it straight with the edges of the image. All right, so that's that. And then next you're going to go up here to the edit section and scroll all the way down. And what I do for every single edit I do is enable lens correction, and it just takes any of the lens vignetting out, all that good stuff, and any lens distortion. All right, so far from there, next one you're going to go down to is this remove column. So on the right side, it looks like an eraser, and you guys are going to go ahead and go in here, and I'm going to start out, you can tell there's someone in the background here, so I'm going to go ahead and edit this person out right there. Click remove. Sometimes you're going to have to go back over it and just redo it, because sometimes generative AI doesn't do a good job, but here did pretty good, didn't take out any of the car. All right, and then there's someone in the back corner right here. I mean, they're not really in the photo at all, so it doesn't matter, but I'm gonna go ahead and take them out just cause. All right, so as you can tell, here's the before and after so far. So far it's looking a lot better. If you want to, you can take out the trees and stuff. I'm gonna keep the trees in there just because I like the aesthetic it gives, and that is like the Charlotte Motor Speedway office buildings in the back. I'm gonna keep that in there though. All right, so that's good for the removal. Next one, you're gonna go down to the mask. So you're gonna go mask, and we're gonna go ahead, I already have some mask in here, but we're gonna delete all those masks. And first one we're gonna do here is subject mask. Subject mask is always the first mask that I do. And from here, as you can tell, it did a pretty good job outlining the car, so we're gonna keep that. We don't have to edit anything if you need to edit certain stuff. Actually, we're gonna go in here and we're gonna subtract some stuff. So we're gonna go in here, subtract brush. And as you can see, there's some of the background selected in there, so we're gonna go ahead and remove some of that stuff back there. And it doesn't have to be like perfect. Obviously, you just don't want the background to be edited with the car, because then that will just take away the purpose of the subject edit. So as you can tell, that looks pretty good. And then you're gonna go back up here, click mask 1. All right, now we're gonna get into some of the light editing on here. All right, so first one, you're gonna mess with the exposure for the car. Sometimes I'll bump it down slightly, sometimes I'll bump it up slightly. It depends on the exposure that the raw image had. So here, that's at 0. I think the image was pretty properly exposed for the most part, but from here I'm gonna bump it down to minus 0.24 right there. And then contrast, I'm gonna bump the contrast down just a little bit, so right to minus 22, as you can see that's before. And that's just gonna brighten up the car a little bit. And then highlights, you guys already know, I love moving the highlights all the way down. And then shadows, I'm gonna bump the shadows up a good bit, because as you can see, it brings out the bottom here, kind of by where the exhaust is. This is one thing I love about this image, is since the car was running, the exhaust was coming out of the pipe. So here, as you can tell, it's before and after so far. It's looking a lot better, and I just love the exhaust popping and the exhaust smoke popping. And then you can go here and you can move the whites down a little bit. So if you want to bump the shadows all the way up and then move the whites down just a little bit so that it's not so, I guess, like shadowy. So you just bump those down just a little bit right there. All right, and so far that's pretty good. I think that's pretty good for the subject edit. If you want to go down here, I'm not going to get into any point curves in this. This is just a beginner editing tutorial. All right, next mask you're going to do, you're going to go create new mask, and then you're going to go into background mask. All right, so as you can see, this one does a much better job of getting that whole background in there and not getting any of the car in there. All right, so the first one we're going to do is go into the exposure, and we're going to bump the exposure down to just -1 flat. All right, and then contrast, bump the contrast up to plus 55 right there. And as you can tell, it's already looking a lot better. This is before, after so far. All right, and then we're gonna take the highlights, and you guys can either bump them down or up. I'm gonna bump them down just to darken that background a little bit more. And then shadows, I love bumping shadows up, but I also don't want it to brighten the image too much. So I'm gonna bump them up to plus 20. And then whites, you can bump those down just to darken the background a little bit more if you want to as well. That's just so far. This is without the background mask, and this is with the background mask. So far, it's looking a whole lot better. All right, the next mask I love getting into is the linear gradient. So we're gonna go down here, click a linear gradient, and we're gonna take this and drag it up from the bottom, drag it right up to like the middle of the car, somewhere between, that looks pretty good right there. And then from here, there's two different light settings I like to do in this one. Is that just bumping the exposure down? Because as you can tell, it's not bright at the bottom, but it's a little bit brighter. So as you can tell, it just bumps it down just a little bit, bump the exposure down, makes it a little darker, so that linear gradient's drawing the viewer's eye to the car. And then that contrast, I'm gonna bump that contrast up just a little bit. All right, and as you can see, this is before the linear gradient and after. As you can tell, it's doing a very good job attracting the viewer's eye to the car. All right, and we're gonna do one more gradient. So here, or one more mask, we're gonna go down here to that radial gradient. And what I'm gonna do is we're gonna do this. So we're gonna circle out the car as best as we can. Try and get that full car in there without getting too much of the background. That looks pretty good right there. And then we are going to go right here next to the radial gradient, and we're gonna click invert. So it's gonna invert it to it's gonna take the gradient that we just did around the car, and it's gonna invert it so it's not on the car anymore, it's around the background. All right, so from here, I'm gonna go down here, we can bump the exposure down just a little bit. Not too much, just like minus 0.1, and then you can bump the contrast up a little bit. Highlights, bump them down or up, it's up to you. I'm gonna bump these up just a tiny bit to plus 10 right there. And then as you can tell, this is before and after. It just darkens the background a little bit more so the eye gets drawn towards the car. And we're not gonna mess with anything else on the radial gradient here. So I think this edit went pretty well. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and we're gonna do a before and after reveal. So here is before. As you can tell, there's people in the background there, and just this photo was pretty well exposed to begin with, and then here's the finished edit there. All right, let me know what you guys think down in the comments, and if you guys are new to the channel, don't forget to hit subscribe, and stay tuned for episode 5. Peace.